Hello, welcome or welcome back to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Here on the channel you'll find me chatting about my adventures in knitting, spinning, crochet and weaving, all of the fibre related things. Today's video is a knitting video and I have another 12 cast-ons vlog for you. Now this one has been a long time in the making. This is my oldest 12 cast on project still left on the needles, and it's living in a lovely project bag that I purchased from Charlie Button Yarns. I believe Charlie's sister was making a few of these project bags, and in here I have the project that I cast on day 5 of our 2020 12 cast-ons. And if you're new to the channel and you're wondering what on earth I'm talking about when I mention the 12 cast-ons, it's a make-along that I have been hosting for the last few years. Each year, usually starting on Christmas Eve and going into the beginning of the following year, I cast on 12 projects on 12 consecutive days to set me up for my year's worth of making. And as you can probably tell by the fact that this project has been on the needle since 2020, it often takes me more than a year to finish my 12 projects. I am someone who enjoys having a lot of works in progress to choose from, and that does mean that some of my projects don't get finished in a very timely fashion. In the last couple of years I've been making project vlogs to follow through the progress of my 12 cast-ons, and back in 2020 I wasn't actually doing that. But as I'm now in the flow of making these project vlogs, I thought, well, why not celebrate my oldest 12 cast on the needles and make a vlog. Given that I think I've only picked it up and knit a few rows on it once since I cast it on, it's not like we've really missed much in terms of progress. What on earth am I talking about? It is my Selbu sock. So this is a pattern by Skein Deer Knit. I cast it on because I really fell in love with the beautiful colourwork design. For many years now I have been loving socks, just vanilla socks, plain socks, for a bit of knitting time where I just want my hands to get in the flow of knitting. I want something to work on but I don't need to necessarily concentrate on, and I think that's why this Selbu sock has been passed over for so long, because obviously I needed to concentrate on every row to work the colourwork chart. Over the last couple of years I have been getting more into sweater knitting, and I've had the brain space, the capacity to concentrate on sweaters a little bit more. I feel with quite a few of the sweaters that I've been making recently, there's been quite a bit of round and round knitting where I can kind of get in the flow, watch telly or watch videos on YouTube, listen to books or podcasts. And because I've got so many socks now, and I've knit so many socks, not just for me but for other people over the last couple of years, I feel like the joy of knitting sort of plain vanilla socks has dissipated somewhat for me at the moment. I'm sure that joy will come back, but I feel like my sweater knitting has been giving me that sort of same round and round knitting joy that I used to get from socks. Recently I finished a pair of textured socks that had a little bit of patterning to them, and I really enjoyed that experience. So now I'm thinking that I might be in the mood to pick this sock up and work on something that is obviously sock. How many more times can I say sock? But that needs a little bit more brain concentration, a little bit more thought. I think maybe it's time for the Selbu sock to shine. I will link to my first cast on video if you want to go back and watch that for any reason. I'm using 2 colours of West Yorkshire spinner's yarn, and I've just picked the ball out of my project bag and it's fallen apart. Unsurprising really, given that these have been in the project bag for so long. And this colour is Nutmeg and this colour is Dusty Miller. It's the 1st of April 2023 as I'm recording this. I'm giggling because, you know, why have I had this sock on the needle since 2020? But I need to just get back into this and start knitting it. I'm not sure what's going to happen in terms of my gauge when I start knitting this, because if you've been knitting for any length of time, you know that the gauge that you knit at can sometimes change depending on your mood, how you are holding your needles, your yarn, etc, etc. And as it's been a few years since I started this, there's a chance that my gauge might be slightly different. So I think I'm going to knit a few rows, see what happens and go from there. but there is a slight chance that I might end up ripping right back to the beginning of the colourwork chart if my gauge is vastly different, and I don't think it's going to block out. It's the very last day of April. I've made a little bit of progress on my Selbu socks, and I was happy once I did pick this up to note that my tension hasn't really changed. My biggest concern about this was that my tension might have changed drastically in the 2 years or so that it's been since I picked up this project. Apologies for the really bad lighting today. It's very overcast here in South Wales, and I'm up here in my craft attic, and I've had to position myself under one of the windows, so we're just gonna go with it, and yeah, we just deal with a bit of poor lighting. Yes, I was pleased to note that my tension hasn't really changed that much. So in the last time I picked it up, it maybe tightened up slightly, but not so as you would really notice that much. So I've added another pattern repeat or so to my sock, and as I've already mentioned, it's the last day of the month today, and we've got quite a bit going on in the next few days. James's sister will be arriving for a few days to stay with us, and then we're going away. She's over from New Zealand where she usually lives, and then we're going away for a few days to meet up with mum and dad and have a nice sort of family gathering where we're all together. So we're busy at home at the moment trying to just rearrange some things so that we can accommodate them in our spare bedroom. So we've got housework to do and just rearranging and tidying and moving a few things around. So I'm not going to have a huge amount of time for knitting, at least today, in the daytime. Hopefully I'll be able to settle down and do some knitting this evening, but I'm not sure whether my brain at that point will be able to concentrate on colour work. But I'm hoping, with just one day left in the month before I change up to some new projects, I'm hoping I can at least maybe get the heel done. I think I'm very close to where I need to start increasing for the heel gusset. I've spent about half an hour with this project this afternoon, in between doing chores, taking some breaks, and I've hit a couple of bumps in the road, one small one and one big one. And I'm beginning to think it's not you, it's me moment with me and Skein Deer Designs. If you've watched the channel for a while, you'll know that I knit an Otra sweater a little while ago. There were some things about that pattern that didn't go quite right for me. I'm beginning to feel like, yeah, maybe there's just a brain clash between me and this particular designer, which, if you're a reader like I am, you might know that everyone has their own style, and there are certain authors that will appeal to you, and there are certain books that you can pick up and get into straight away, and there'll be others that might take you a minute to sort of tune in to the author's writing style, and there might be some that you never click with, and I'm beginning to wonder whether that's happening with me and Skein Deer. One of these errors is completely my fault, and another, I think, it's just the way I interpreted the directions, which ended up ultimately being incorrect. So the first small bump in the road was the pattern states knit to a certain length on your foot, then sort of continue with the pattern chart up here, and then there's a new pattern chart for the bottom of the foot for increasing for the gusset. I knit to what I thought I needed my length to be, started the chart, and then I realised that actually, because of the way the checkerboard sort of works on the bottom of the foot, you can't just stop on any row, and to me that wasn't entirely clear on the pattern, and I figured out I was only sort of one row out, so I figured, oh, that's okay, I'll just knit an extra row and then I'll start the increases on the next row. So that was my first little sort of bump in the road. I had to pull back half of a round as I figured out that I was on the wrong part of the second chart. The bigger issue, and this is entirely down to me, is that the way that the heel is constructed on this foot, maybe just my inexperience with knitting toe-up colourwork socks. I've started the increase for the heel up here, and actually, rereading the pattern design, I should have started it a couple of inches ago, so I should have started way back down here somewhere. So it's one step forward, two step backs with this pattern, and I feel like I'm going to be under-knitting more than I'm actually knitting this month, which is a shame because, yeah, I've made some good inroads, but I've just done it wrong. That's my fault. So while there's still some decent daylight, it's getting on for 4 o'clock here in the afternoon, I'm going to take my needles out, put them back in the stitches here somewhere, rip back, and then start this section of the pattern again. Hello. Well, I feel like it is confessions of a naughty knitter time. I have just been reviewing the footage that I have for this vlog, and it seems rather fitting that when I started this vlog it was the 1st of April 2023. As I'm recording this, it is the 1st of April 2024. Weird coincidence. But I have decided this month I am going to tackle this sock again. It has been languishing for far too long. I have literally done nothing on it since I ripped back. Well, that's slightly untrue. I've knit about 10 rows since I ripped back. If I can hold this up, you might be able to see here where I started those gusset increases after my disastrous last attempt at working on this sock. I feel like this April it is time to finish or frog this sock. So I think it's high time to actually try and make some progress on it, or just admit that it's never going to happen. I'm hoping it's the former rather than the latter, but we shall see. There may be a slight spanner in the works in that we have some family issues going on at the moment that mean that I'm probably going to be in need of a bunch of simple knitting, maybe not a colourwork sock, but I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to do my best to at least make enough progress to decide whether I definitely want to carry on. It's Easter Monday, and so today feels like a good time for me to spend sort of half an hour reacquainting myself with a pattern, figuring out where I am, and maybe adding a few rows to get back into the swing of things. And then hopefully I've kind of set myself up for potentially making progress on this throughout April. I think I'm going to set myself an unofficial goal of trying to at least finish the first sock during April and get the second one started if I am to carry on with this. So yeah, keep your fingers crossed, wish me luck, and I will check in again when I have some progress or something to update you on. Okay, so I am happy to report that some progress has been made on my Selbu socks. I've done the gusset increases, the heel turn, the heel flap, and the sock is fitting okay. If I were to do this again, I'd probably go back maybe another couple of rows before I started the increases for the gusset, because the sock length kind of fits perfectly, and for my socks, particularly with super wash yarns, I prefer to have a slight bit of negative ease, because once you've washed them and worn them a few times they tend to stretch out, or at least that's been my experience. They fit fine. I think over time they might become slightly baggier than I would like, but hey, I can live with it. Also have a little bit of something going on down the side of the sock, only on one side, where I got a little bit confused where I was meant to be increasing, and that was partly my fault because of the way that I had made my notes on the pattern, and as you know, it's been ages since I picked this up, so you might not really be able to tell, but there's these sections down the side here. The camera's trying to focus on my face rather than the sock, but there's these little sort of panels of stitches where you do basically one row of entirely one colour and then one row of alternating the different colours, and you get this little ladder sort of down the side, this bit here. And yeah, there's a bit where it's gone slightly askew up here, so I've got like several stitches of one colour, but again, I can live with it. It's a little mistake, and I picked up on it relatively quickly once I'd picked the sock back up. If anyone is looking that closely at my foot, more fool them. I'm now going to knit up a few rows on the leg, because my only final question mark is, I should be okay, but the stitch count for the leg, just making sure that that fits okay. I think it will be fine. It's the same stitch count that I've used for a couple of other pairs of colourwork socks that I've done in the past, so all should be well. But I think I'm just being extra cautious now because of the journey that we've been on with these socks, the mistakes that I've made, the misinterpretations of the pattern, and the fact that they've been on the needles for so long. At the moment, I'm feeling fairly confident that these socks will actually get finished rather than frogged. The other thing that happened, and Again, I'm not entirely sure where I went wrong in the pattern, but once I'd finished the heel turn and the heel flap, which you obviously do in the one colour, my main colour yarn, or the background colour yarn I should say, ended up on the wrong side of the stock. So the pattern tells you not to break the yarn, so once you finish doing the heel flap you can carry on knitting in the round. But for some reason I felt like I'd followed the instructions, but my yarn ended up on the wrong side, so I've had to break that and I'm going to be rejoining it here, but that's just an extra couple of ends to sew in. So just another misadventure with me and this pattern and me interpreting the patterns of this particular designer. It just doesn't go smoothly. It just does not go smoothly. Never mind. It's Sunday today, yay! And I'm going to carry on working this sock. I think I'm going to get in a few rows on the leg. I'll try and finish my pattern repeat. I'm part way sort of through a pattern repeat here, so I think I'm going to finish the pattern repeat, which will be 15 rows or so, retry on the sock, and providing all is looking good, I will just carry on and hopefully get this sock finished in the next couple of days. It's the 1st of October and famous last words from me previously on this video. I believe I said I was going to finish the first sock before the end of April, May, whenever it was. April I think it was when I worked on these. And of course I didn't. It's still in exactly the same place. But October is the month these are going to get finished. I have just tried these on and although they look quite short in the leg, they're a pretty good fit at the moment, and it's getting to the point where the colour work is starting to stretch out quite a bit. Obviously my legs are getting wider as they go up. I feel like now would be a good time to pop in the cuff and get these finished. So what I just need to check is to read the pattern again and see whether there's a recommendation for where to stop in the colour work chart to add the cuff. I may need to just add a couple more rows to get to a recommended point. Now I'm going to trust the design. Imagine that, you know, the designer has done the hard work to figure out where it's best to stop that colour work chart. So yeah, hopefully there'll just be a few more rows and the cuff, or just the cuff. And then, with any luck, I can zoom through the second sock. We'll see what the month brings. So just a quick shot of me trying on the sock as I was just showing it to you. Please ignore my drum carder on the floor there, and my floor needs a bit of a hoover. As you can see, it's fitting quite nicely. Now, I checked the pattern and unfortunately there was no recommendation for where to stop the leg. It just said knit the leg until it's as long as you want it to be. So I figured out a place in the chart that was only a few rows away from where I was, where I thought the sort of chart would end in an aesthetically pleasing kind of way. So yeah, I'm just knitting up to that length before I add the cuff, and hopefully it won't affect the fit too much. I think it was only about 4 or 5 rows from where I was, so fingers crossed I haven't made yet another faux pas with this pattern. First sock is finished. Well, apart from weaving in the ends, as you can see. This really needs a jolly good block as well, especially down the sides. Be good to get those side stitches evened out a bit where the divide from the magic loop comes. That doesn't look too bad from far away, but the closer you get, the dodgier it looks. I'm just going to quickly pop this on, make sure everything's okay, and then cast on the second sock. And once the second sock's cast on, the project's basically finished, right? It is the first weekend of October, which means I've got a little bit more time to do my crafting. It's a Sunday. You might have just seen me casting on my second sock while I was doing a little bit of video editing, and I have the toe done. So ready to start the colour work, and as I say, I'm hoping this second sock will go fairly quickly. Now I've got all my notes, I should hopefully avoid those pitfalls that I fell down when I was making my first sock. Famous last words. We'll see what happens. Probably gonna add maybe the first 5 or so rows of the colour work on this today, just to get myself properly going. But I've got other projects that I want to work on too, so there's still plenty of time in October to get this done. Fingers crossed, touch wood and all that. My second sock is underway, and I think I've come up with a plan for this project. As I'm recording this, there are about 2.5 weeks left in October. So I've managed to knit almost to the point. I've got to be careful not to poke my own eyes out with these higher sharps. But I've knit almost to the point where I need to start increasing for the heel flap gusset. What I'm thinking about doing is breaking this down a little bit, because it does take a little bit of concentration, and not every day when I come home from work do I have the concentration to knit colour work. This has taken me about a week to do the toe and almost to the gusset increases. So my thinking is, if I use the next week to do the gusset increases and the heel, the following week to do the leg, and then that leaves me half a week to do the cuff and catch up if I don't quite keep up the pace. But that way, by the end of October, this sock will be finished. So it's Saturday today as I'm recording this, so my plan today is to sit down and knit the last, I think it's like 5 or 6 rows till I get to the gusset increase point, see how I'm feeling after that. I'm feeling a bit off today. I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but I'm feeling a little bit flushed. You know, that kind of like pre-sickly feeling. I hope it's just the weather rather than any germs, but yeah, we'll see how far my concentration takes me. Yeah, I thought I'd just pop in and let you know my plan to try and achieve a finished pair of socks by the end of the month without putting too much pressure on myself to progress a lot every day. If I can get the socks finished by the end of October, it will definitely be a win. It's the 20th of October. I think it's been a while since I've checked in for this project. I've lost track a little bit, which happens sometimes. The downside about making these project vlogs is trying to keep track of the last thing that I recorded, particularly when I'm working on several projects in one month that I'm also making vlogs for, if that makes sense. So this month in October, I've got 3 of my 5 projects are ones that I'm making vlogs for. So I'm trying to record footage as I go along, and of course that doesn't include extra videos that I might be making for Patreon, things like my wrap-ups and my making plans videos. So sometimes my brain gets a little bit scrambled as to where I am with what thing. So yeah. Editing and sometimes has fun mopping up all of the disastrous things that past Ange has been up to for these vlogs. Anyway, I'm kind of on track for where I wanted to be with these socks. I've just finished my heel flap and the gusset part of this sock. All I've got left now is the leg and the cuff. So I'm hoping to get the colour work finished in this coming week, and then if I feel inspired I'll go on and hopefully get the cuff done as well. If not, then I've still got a few days next week to do that simple cuff and the cast off. So I'm feeling confident that these are gonna finally be finished. After what, 4 years? 4 years in the making. I did have a couple of issues again with the side of this sock. I think I encountered them on the first sock as well, where I went slightly awry on this sort of little lice pattern on the side. My error, but also in conjunction with the way the pattern's written, you swap from working on one chart at one point to another chart on the other, and if you're not mindful and thinking about what you're up to, which I'm not always, then that life pattern can sometimes go out of sync. So yeah, that's happened to me again on this sock, but it's only a couple of rows that are out. I'm not going to drop down and fix it. It's fine. It's fine. At this point, I'm aiming for finished, not perfect socks. Not that they were ever going to be perfect, but you know, when a project has just been hanging around for far too long, then perfectionism goes out the window. So yeah, that's where I'm at with the Selbu sock. I'm gonna have loads of each of these West Yorkshire Spinners yarns left over, which is a good and a bad thing, because I've been trying to work through my sock yarn scraps this year. I'll be adding to them again. This is like the constant cycle, isn't it? Because I'm knitting with socks or with sock yarn quite a lot, then no sooner do I manage to empty the leftover or the scrap basket than I'm refilling it again. But these both are great colours for contrast heels, toes and cuffs, so yeah, I'm not going to be mad that there'll be leftovers. It's part of the sock knitting game, isn't it? I've managed to add a little bit of progress to my Selbu socks. Thought I'd just jump in quickly and share with you, because I'm really close now. I've got about 20 something rows left to do on the leg, which really won't take me that long now. And then of course I've got the cuff to put in as well. Yeah, I thought I'd check in. I haven't made a huge amount of progress since the heel flap, but yeah, it's plenty enough. We are heading away to visit James's parents up in Yorkshire this weekend. It's the last weekend in October, so I'm going to take this sock with me. I was umming and ahhing about it because it's not going to take me too long, but I've got a couple of projects. I've got this and my Heritage Harbour sweater that I'm working on that I've been procrastinating on over the last week or so because I've cast on a new project that I'm completely obsessed with. I feel like this is a good opportunity to break my obsession with my new cast on. If I don't take it with me, then I can't work on it. So the Selbu socks are coming with me this weekend. I'm not sure whether I'll be able to share any out and about footage with you. Hopefully there'll be something fun that we'll get up to over the weekend. It's mostly about spending time with James's family. So yeah, I'm not sure if we've got any specific plans, but if we go anywhere fun, I'll be sure to take you with me. And hopefully the other side of this weekend, I'll have a finished pair of socks to finally share. Our weekend in Yorkshire passed by really quickly. We didn't really have the opportunity to get out and about much, although on Saturday James and I did go for a little drive, so I thought I'd just share a little bit of footage with that. As you can see, Yorkshire is very autumnal at the moment, lots of leaves on the ground. Have to ignore my junior cameraman's attempts at filming while I was driving, because I think a lot of that was just my car dashboard rather than the beautiful scenery, but hey, we'll forgive him this time. I love driving around the countryside nearby to where James's parents live. It's just so beautiful, and the kind of road that I'm driving on at the moment, which is kind of almost single track, really sharp bends, is kind of my favourite type of driving. You never know who's around the corner and what kind of peril you're going to come into. I love it, can't help it. But anyway, enough about my driving kinks. Our ultimate destination was Home Moss, which is a hill just past Home Firth, which is very famous here in the UK for the old television series Last of the Summer Wine. Sadly, no old men riding bathtubs down hillsides when we visited this time, but yeah, the views from Home Moss are gorgeous, although as you can see it was quite windy up there. Home Moss is also on the edge of Saddleworth Moor, which is famous for much darker reasons, but hey, we shall skip over that. Also, I had to share with you this beautiful postbox topper. Look at all this amazing work, all of the autumnal fun in this. This was in the village of Denby Dale, which is the next village down from where James's parents live. Aside from our drive around, the other thing that I did out and about wise was take a walk. There's a beautiful bridle way just outside of James's parents' house. So again, I thought I'd share a little bit of footage of that. We were treated to a couple of really nice sunny days, as you can see. It was beautiful weather while we were up there. It was a shame that we couldn't get out and about a little bit more, but yeah, the main purpose of the visit was to spend time with James's mum and dad, and James's dad is not very mobile at the moment and can't go very far, so yeah, we made the most of the little time that we did have. So I had a fair amount of knitting time, and I am happy to say that I did manage to cast off my second Selbu sock. So time to share the finished socks with you. I almost feel like we need a bit of a fanfare. Ta-da! My Selbu socks are finished after, what, almost 4 years in the making. And yes, I am very much aware of how ridiculous that is for a pair of socks, but if you followed here on the channel for any length of time, you know that I just love having lots of projects on the needles. I never set myself any deadlines. It's just for fun, you know, it's for the joy of making. So whether something takes me 4 days, 4 weeks, 4 months, or in this case almost 4 years, it really doesn't bother me. And I know that some people would find that stressful. They don't like to have a lot of projects hanging around not being worked on, but I just love that we all enjoy these fibre crafts in different ways, and we all end up with lovely things to gift, to wear, but yet all of our approaches are completely different. I do continue to admire people who cast something on and won't start anything else until they've finished what they have on the needles, but I've come to accept that that's just not the way I work. And that's fine, it's fine. I like having lots of choice. And you know, socks don't usually take me 4 years to make. I've had my ups and downs with this pattern as documented in the video, but really a lot of the issues were of my own making rather than anything that's wrong with the patterns. I mean, the Selbu motif, the Selbu design, it's just so pretty, isn't it? And of course I love these colours, so I'm so thrilled to have these finished and to be able to add them to my sock drawer. I do love a good pair of colourwork socks. I mean, I love knitting colourwork. It's always just so fun to see the picture, the patterns emerging. With a colourwork sock, you get that extra added warmth because you're basically carrying the 2 yarns around every row. They just feel like extra cosy, extra snuggly, extra warm for the autumn and winter months. So I know I shall wear those lots in the coming weeks. I will finish out with a shot of these on my feet, just so you can see them on. I don't think there's anything else to say really. Let me know in the comments below, have you finished any of your long-term projects recently? Anything that's been hanging around, maybe it's some yarn that you've had or a pattern that you've had in your collection for a long time that you've recently used. Maybe like me, you've finished a project that's, you know, been on the needles for 4 years. There's probably not many of you out there that are quite as ridiculous as me, but hey. Yes, just let me know all of the things that you've been up to in the comments below. I love to chat to you and to be inspired by the things that you are working on. I found loads of really lovely patterns, designers, yarns that I wouldn't have otherwise heard of because people have left me comments and I've gone away and had a look at what people are making. So please continue to do that. No matter how long I've been doing this, it's always a little bit weird just to be stood here chatting to a camera in a room on my own. So the interactions that we have really do give me an extra added amount of joy. I will of course be back again soon with some more making content, so I hope you will join me for the next video. Until we do get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Bye.